economic rights, then people who are homeless, people who are underprivileged, and so they have some kind of claim, and that claim will have to be adjudicated by the government, which of course is criticized. The government will be big. If the government is big, then economic development will be undermined. There are all kinds of interesting problems, but the dialogue is, if not necessary, the dialogue is important. Now, let me have a very little bit of time to address the question about forming a unity between heaven and earth and the mirror thing. I mentioned these 4 dimensions. These are differentiating or discriminating principles. So there's nothing in this forming one body with heaven and earth and mirror things that's romantic. It's not a romantic assertion about universal brotherhood. Max Weber made the idea in the world today is disenchanted. And since this world is disenchanted, some of this idea of unity, of brotherhood, or we are all part of a family, all these are gone. And in terms of a concrete experience, one thing that is most powerful in shaping our life, not now, even now, but a few years from now, is our professions. We spend much more time in our professions than in our family lives. Or of course, if you're very successful, you may consider leisure as your job. That will be terrific, but normally it's not the case. So our relationships to voluntary organizations like a club, like some kind of reading group, even NGOs, sometimes become very powerful. All these things are beyond the comprehension of a pre-modern society. However, is it possible for us to still imagine, in the Yangming case, of forming one body with heaven and earth and mirror things? Right now, it is not possible that it is very dangerous if we do not take that idea absolutely seriously. The first one is the question about we are all part of a light bulb. The viability of human species, and for the first time in human history, the viability, whether human beings can survive and continue to flourish, is in question. So the light bulb idea is very, very powerful. There's a very illustrative description of a light bulb. It's a big bulb that is sinking. And those people on top, the well-to-do, they say, my gosh, we are not part of those people. We're now being drawn. Now, without knowing, it's just a matter of time. So this is something that each one of us, I think the younger you are, the more sensitive you become. And of course, this notion is not necessary to form one body. This notion is we are all in this together. And why we do not take it seriously? Normally we don't. Because normally the things that actually attract our great attention is a major explosion of some kind of disaster, such as famine relief, such as tsunami, such as major earthquake. We focus our attention and try to help because that's a disaster we see right away. But in terms of pollution, in terms, that a few years from now, maybe not in our generation, maybe some kind of scientific method will be developed so they can solve these problems. We're not. The other one, normally we become really attracted, is real moral indignation. We're very, very unhappy about something that happens right away, either by politicians or by society, and by some of the rich people in society. We react very strongly. But for the for natural phenomena, for pollution, we're not that easily mobilized. And we know for sure, both intellectually and emotionally, there's something we need to do. But at the same time, we all understand now that the true development, the real development of humans cannot be constrained by the anthropological world. cannot be constrained by the living anthropological world. And we now become more and more sensitive to the participation of many other forms of life for our existence. Geodiversity, biodiversity, all these other forms are necessary for human survival. If we take into consideration of our culture, even linguistic diversity is important. And of course, language is now from 6,000 already to about 600, up from 6,600, and it's diminishing very fast. And you know the people in France is deeply worried about French as a national language. It used to be, the language for diplomacy in general. So this is a new situation that we know we're connected, we're interconnected. And so what we see now, what Wang Yangming also see, if you read that great learning is really fascinating, is that we're interconnected. So we can form a body with heaven and earth and other things, and yet that interconnectedness is totally destroyed because our sense of what is profitable to us here now. It's short-lived, it's immediate, and it's not going to help us in the long run. Next week, I hope you give us a very short description. You have 1 week to think about what you want to do on the 17th of April. Just, you can change your mind, but give a short description so we can organize that 3-hour meeting. And you'll be asked to give a presentation no more than 10 minutes, maybe even shorter. In some of the meetings, like Davos, economic forum, the time is always limited to 6 minutes. When you reach 6 minutes, the light will be on, the microphone will be turned off. In the United Nations, no matter what, even if you are Castro, you are asked to give 5 minutes. Castro's lectures in the